Khamzat Chimaev is a bum. He hasn't fought anybody inside the top 10. You think Khamzat Chimaev has a chance against me?
Colby Covington, thank you so much for your time on Fox Sports Australia, mate. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Living the American dream. Got all my freedoms here in America, so I couldn't be luckier and just thankful and blessed to be in this position that I'm in. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. It's great to chat with you. It's a massive rematch coming up for one of the greatest welterweight title fights, certainly in recent memory. You mentioned after the first fight against Kamaru Usman that was you on your worst night. Why will we see the best Colby Covington this weekend?
You'll see the best Colby Covington because I made a change. Last time I fought him, I was at a gym that they didn't care about me. The coaches, they didn't want to see my growth as a fighter. They didn't want to help me out get better. They just wanted me to fall in the crowd, train with the team. They didn't want to individualize my training, which is what I needed. So I made a change. I left that old gym that I was at last time I fought him, and now I have new coaches. We've literally been game planning every single day for just this match with Usman. We haven't been focusing on anybody else. We've just been focusing on our strategy for this rematch and making the adjustments that I needed to make from the first fight, because I made a lot of mistakes in the first fight. But I promise you Saturday night, you're going to see a new Colby Covington 2.0. I've updated the software and programming, and I'm going to get my hand raised and get that undisputed welterweight title.
Well, you look to be in career best shape at the moment, Colby. As you mentioned, you changed camps. It's Colby Covington Incorporated right now. Kamaru has also changed camps, though. Have you seen any improvements in his game under the tutelage of Trevor Whitman?
No, I haven't seen these big improvements that the media tries to hyping him up as. I see him fighting lightweights. Look at the last two fights that he had. He fought a journeyman Street Judas Masvidal who has 20 losses on his record. The guy's a nobody. He's a jobber. He just had lightning in a bottle and a bunch of hype on him, so everybody thought he was good. He's not good. I've been beating that guy up for 10, 15 years. I mean, knocking that guy out, there's nothing to be proud of or satisfied for knocking that guy out. And then when he beat up that other lightweight, Dilbert, I mean, the guy's a lightweight. What are you I don't see how you can hype this guy up like he's the greatest thing of all time when he beat two lightweights. So, I don't see it, but, that's what the media does. They like to hype people up and run this certain narrative. But the narrative Saturday night is going to be, when I get my hand raised, better be I'm the number one pound for pound fighter and the greatest of all time.
Colby, as exciting as the build-up was, you mentioned that fight. I think a lot of people were a bit shocked when they gave Jorge Masvidal the immediate rematch, even though he had taken the first one on late notice. What was going through your head when that fight was booked? Man, I was just dumbfounded. After I knocked out Tyron Woodley and finished him, last September, they were like, hey, we're going to make you and journeyman Street Judas Masvidal fight each other. Let's get this grub match going. So I was like, oh, awesome. I finally get an easy fight for my UFC career. I've been beating this guy up for free for the last 10 years. I used to beat him up in my apartment when we lived together. So when they told me that I was going to fight him and they just kept stringing me along, they're like, hey, you're going to fight Masvidal for the Ultimate Fighter. I'm like, great, let's do it. He backs out. A couple months later, hey, we're going to set you up with Masvidal for a pay-per-view. I'm like, hey, let's do it. He backs out. And then Usman calls him out for a rematch. And then they give him the rematch off of getting beat every single round the first fight. He wasn't deserving. You lost every single round. How does that deserve a rematch? I beat Usman in multiple rounds in our fight. That's facts. You can look at the judges' scorecard. I was up 3-1 on one judge's scorecard. The other one had a 2-2, and I was winning the fifth round until I slipped on a banana peel. But I should have had this rematch with Usman ran back right away. I shouldn't have had to wait 2 years. But, Usman never wanted to fight me. He was begging to fight any other lightweights. He wanted to fight that lightweight washout Nate Diaz. He tried to find any way out of fighting me, but the UFC forced his hand. And Saturday night, I'm going to show you why Usman didn't want to fight me. Well, Colby, we know how well-rounded your skill set is. We saw it on full display against Tyron Woodley. In that first fight against Usman, though, it's almost as if your skills cancelled each other out. I mean, neither of you elected to engage on the ground. I wanted to ask you, do you feel as though you have the superior offensive wrestling, and will you look to implement it this time around?
I know I have the superior offensive wrestling. There's a reason he didn't even attempt one takedown on me. He was afraid to wrestle with me, and get in those exchanges and have to get tired and fill his muscles up with blood and then try and strike with me after that. So there's a reason that I wrestled Division I in America and he wrestled Division II. There's levels to this. And Saturday night, I'm going to show those levels.
Colby, President Trump was supposed to be at the first fight. We know how close you are to him. We know how fond he is of you. Will he be in attendance this weekend?
You know, I just got off the phone with President Trump a couple of days ago. He's in great spirits. You know, he was at the golf course and, you know, I asked President Trump if he was going to be able to make it to the fight, but unfortunately he has a big rally that day, but he said he will be watching and he'll give me a call right after the fight's done and we'll chat then. But there will be some members of the Trump family in attendance, the first family, Eric Trump, Laura Trump, and some other people. And I got a bunch of surprises in store. So you got to make sure you guys all check with your cable providers. Make sure you got the pay-per-view ready to go. And Saturday night, it's going to be a night full of surprises.
Well, don't forget, guys, you can order UFC 268 right here on Foxtel's main events. Colby, you're obviously aiming for a big win this weekend. Afterwards, will you chase this trilogy with Kamaru Usman? Because the fans absolutely love this rivalry between the two of you.
You know, there's a reason they call me the people's champion, and I want to please the people. So if the people want this trilogy, I'd be willing to run it back right away. But the thing with me that's different from Usman is he's afraid of challenges. He was afraid to rematch me until he got his hand forced, and he had to rematch me. So after I leave Marty motionless and unconscious on Saturday night, which, by the way, they say the Big Apple, New York City, never sleeps, I guarantee they're making an exception Saturday night because I'm putting Marty to sleep. So the thing is, he's not going to want the trilogy. When I'm done with him on Saturday night, he's probably going to retire. He's not going to want to fight ever again. I'm going to give him life-altering changes, and he'll never be the same person ever again.
Colby, this division is looking pretty good at the moment. I mean, Leon Edwards is back fighting. Nate Diaz is being talked about. But someone who all the hype has sort of been around right now at 170 is young Khamzat Chimaev with a big win over Li Jingliang over the weekend. I mean, John Anik even saying that he might be deserving of a title shot very, very shortly, or maybe even immediately. Do you like what you see from Khamzat?
You mean Khamzat Chimaev? How does a guy who has 3 fights in the UFC be considered for a title shot? He hasn't fought anybody inside the top 10. He hasn't fought anybody that's even really still in the UFC. I mean, his last fight, nobody knows who he fought. Who is that guy? I've never heard of that Chinese guy. No one's heard of that guy. So he's fighting a bunch of washouts, a bunch of guys that have been tailor-made that can't wrestle, that he can take down and win. Khamzat Chimaev is a bum. He was losing a fight to the common cold. He was ready to retire over the common cold. You think Khamzat Chimaev has a chance against me? That guy lost to the common cold. He was ready to retire to something that's a 99.9% survival rate. If he gets in the octagon with me, I promise you it's less than a 99% survival rate.
Lastly, Colby, prediction time. Can you tell all your fans down here in Australia what to expect this weekend?
You can expect violence, man. I don't want to give any spoilers, even though I'm the king of spoilers, but you can expect a lot of violence. I'm not going to tell you my strategy and the game plan, the round that I'm going to win in, but I promise you I will get my hand raised. I'm going through hell and back to get it and do it. And against all the odds, I will defy the odds this weekend, but I'm going to give the people what they want. I know all the people in Australia and around the world, they pay their hard-earned money to watch these UFC pay-per-views, so I'm going to make sure that I impress and get your money's worth.
Colby Covington, got to thank you so much for your time here on Fox today. We appreciate it, and we wish you all the best against Kamaru Usman at UFC 268.
I appreciate it. Take care down under, guys, and we'll catch up soon.